Hi! You're listening to the Coffee O'Clock podcast, the show that brings you joy and inspiration, with special guests from all around the world who have an amazing story and expertise to evolve your personal and professional life. I am your host, Burcu ONARANEL, the founder of Joy Marketing and Coaching. Make sure you grab your coffee and get ready to explore new ideas. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Another amazing Coffee O'Clock. Today we are in Canada. My guest is in Canada and I am in Hungary. We are going to have an amazing conversation as usual. She is a Creative Life Strategist, Andrea Brunswick. I want to welcome her and dive into our topic. We are going to talk about truth about how allowing guilt and shame can only lead darkness and how you can turn this to the opposite version. We are going to talk all about it with you. I'm not going to have her wait more. She's already here. How are you, Andrea? Welcome.
Oh my God, because I'm so happy to be here. First of all, here's to having coffee.
Yes, let's cheers. Yeah.
Okay? Because nothing can get me through the day without a cup of coffee.
Me too.
And yeah, I love it. Oh, yeah. So I do call myself a creative life strategist only because I think that's really it's a very applicable title for myself. But I started life coaching in 2004, so it was quite a ways. What now? 20 years ago, almost. Yeah, 20 years. And that industry was not very well known. And people would say to you or to me, "Oh, so Andrea, what do you do?" And I would say, "I'm a life coach." And then I would get that deer in the headlight look.
Mhm.
What's that? And I would do my best to explain to them. And then they'd say, "Oh, that's therapy." And because the International Coaching Federation back then was very strict about not saying that coaching was any way therapeutic, even though, well, we know that's a big fat lie because it's just a different modality in the way to move people through and to have them receive the results that they want.
Mhm.
So a couple of years ago, I was in a mastermind group, and one of the leaders of it said, Andrew, she goes, I really see this creative life strategist. And I was like, yes. And I took that on and I love it. Because it is about a coach gives you the strategies. My job as the coach is to give you the tools and the strategies to deal with the circumstances that you bring to the table, where we dismantle them and we rip them apart. And then I give you the things because, here's the thing that I was thinking about this morning, really regarding myself when I started my own journey of healing. And especially, unfortunately, I really am an expert in grief only because I've experienced so much. But I don't do a lot of grief coaching, but I really am an expert on really how to move through it. And I thought, those tools for me moving through my grief are really the same tools that I've had to use for other circumstances that have come up in my life. And trust me, I've had many, many circumstances where life has really given me one major hard kick after another to, unfortunately, but fortunately, I'm 61 now, but starting in my 20s, I'd had a few emotional breakdowns. And in my 20s and my 30s, I didn't have the tools. I didn't know of tools. I went for traditional therapy, which, no offense to any therapists or psychiatrists out there, really brought me nowhere, but deeper, and never addressed the shame and the guilt that I was carrying, because it's always attached to a specific root. And unless we get to that root.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about it. Like, how did you tap that root? Like, how did you get into that? And how did you turn your story into something powerful?
Well, in my early 20s, I had lost my father. And that was a very traumatic event for me. I was a very much a, you hear the term daddy's girl.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was me. I'd be the poster child. And he was sick for 4 years before he had passed away. And, in your late teens and your early 20s, well, for myself, I was living life and I was very much of the world and of culture. And, listen, I was born in the 60s and grew up in the 70s. So I'm definitely one of those wild childs and a bit of a rebellion. And things started to happen within me, but I didn't understand what was going on within me. And then, and as, especially his last year that he was alive, for almost, I think it was 10 months of that, he was in a hospital. And I couldn't go to the hospital. Every time I went to a hospital, I'd have anxiety and I'd have panic attacks and I couldn't be there. So it was like really just going because I felt obligated to go and to see my father, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd be there and then I'd want to get the hell out of there because I couldn't be there. I'd start to I can't even breathe. But I'll tell you something, in the early 80s, they weren't talking about this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they'd give you a prescription for something, but they weren't talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. And then so my father ended up passing away. And again, I was having things happen inside of me that I wasn't recognizing who I was anymore. And I was going for help. I was seeing a psychologist. I saw a therapist, a psychotherapist, a social worker, to eventually a friend of mine gave me a referral to her psychiatrist that she was seeing. And I went and listen, all of us, even me as a life coach, I need to get your background, right? I need to get some information on you. The same as they would do. They ask for things. So I had told them what was going on. And well, you're depressed. Okay, but why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No answers. So in any case, I don't want to take too long on this, but in any case, I was given back then the medication Prozac. It was an antidepressant. It had just come on the market. The doctor had given me a prescription for it. Nothing was happening. Like, I was feeling worse. I would have suicidal ideology. It was getting worse. I renewed the prescription. I think now I was on the third refill, either the second or the third, and then that was it. And I took the whole bottle, and I just wanted to end it. My my husband, I get to the emergency department. They do whatever to get the antidepressants out of my body. They're talking to me, and I'm telling them what's been happening now. This has been about I would say within those last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Still no answers for me other than, but I knew I'm not going on any more antidepressants. That was just not an experience that I wanted to have. In any case, how did I get myself out of that depression? Life is so funny. I love it because it sent me. My sister, who married an American, lived in Florida. Now she was living in New York, but my brother-in-law's a New Yorker, but they moved to Florida and were there now for maybe the last 6 years. Well, she wasn't well and she had 3 children, and my husband and I hadn't started our family yet. So she needed my help. So he said, you know what, you need to go. And I went there for 4 months. And while I was there, I know I go all over the place and I'm sorry. I apologize for that. And this thing called step aerobics just came out. And I started to do it. And I started to do like 2, 3 classes at a time. How did I get out of that depression? It was literally through
Mm-hmm.
physical exercise. Okay, great. Now I come back and I get pregnant. We have our first child. I'm doing okay and I'm still exercising. And through a business that was based on Eastern philosophies, I started to market their products. And they did for their distributors, these really intense workshops. I don't know if you've ever heard of Landmark Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was very landmark based. And it
Mm-hmm.
was the second night of the weekend, and the facilitator led us through this beautiful guided meditation where he takes us to our past in any case.
Mhm.
As I was being led through this meditation, and my parents who were younger in this meditation were sitting with me, were on this bench. Funny enough, I'm going back a long, long time ago now, that, you know, things, how they can still stay in your memory.
Mhm.
Oh my God, my 20s made sense to me. I was able to understand that I felt guilty because of a couple things. I was angry. So that behavior that I was displaying was this angry girl because her father was dying. I didn't know I was angry. And there was nobody to help me process the
Mhm.
emotions of anger. I felt guilty and I felt shame. There was the root of that depression, right?
And when did
Okay.
you realize this? How old were you?
So we had already had our second child. So I'm maybe 37, 38 at this point.
Almost 20 years after.
Almost 20, exactly, almost 20 years after. Okay, and I was, you know, honestly, it was after that experience, and I love this workshop. And the beautiful thing about this company was it allowed you to repeat these workshops. As you paid once and go as many times. So I think I did it 4 different times. And what I walked away with was, this is kind of what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want
Mhm.
to be a trainer and I want to facilitate people in their process. Transformation has always really got me excited. Any kind of transformation, right?
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So that set me on a path. But while I was on this path, my husband passed away in his sleep. I woke up, he did it. And now I had just turned 40 and we had 2 small kids. And now I really there was no way I could go back to the girl of 22 who, when she was 27 or 20, yeah, around 27, 28, tried to take her life. I'm a mother. I can't do that. I can't place my children at risk. And I now have to get kids through this, through the loss of their father. So I hope I was clear and I answered, but it led me. And then it was about a year after my husband's passing was when I decided to go into the coaching industry. It was just starting to get a buzz. I was becoming more aware of it. It felt like that perfect fit for me. It was a way for me to be able to walk with that woman and support her through whatever transition or transformation was taking place in her life. Because if we don't have some, excuse me, guiding us and facilitating that process, just like me, was stumbling and falling for all of those years, even
Mhm.
though, even though I was seeking out, right? And I was going to professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so true what you said. I was listening and really feeling for you while you were sharing your story. So many people, all of us, go through or will go through grief period, but we don't have to go through it by ourselves. Like we don't have to commit to a suicide or just create anger around it or just become somebody who is desperate or being in depression. Like it is life. It is everybody goes through, but not everybody is able to go over with ease, and it's not easy. So what you deal with, and you mentioned before our recording, you said the shame and guilt you had was your gifts. So now you're helping through those process. Maybe it wasn't sweet while you were experiencing it, it was super bitter, I bet. But now you're helping, guiding others through that. I want to ask you how you work with your clients. Like, how is your work style?
Mm, how's my style? You know, so such a great question, but it's something that I don't really ever really pay attention. You know, when you're kind of in, so first of all, It is through conversation, because I really feel like, just like we're doing here right now, conversations are powerful. It's a very
Yeah.
powerful tool. Oh, my allergies, I apologize. So I'm very led by God. And when I show up as your coach, it's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very much led from spirit, and I'm very much guided from spirit. I tailor the work that I do with the client. This really used to trip me up, because especially in the online space, and in the online space of coaching, it's like you're supposed to be able to go into this box, and you're supposed to be able to put your program in this box and list it all out. And I always felt like I can't do that. That's not me. Like, what is there something wrong with me? Because that is not me. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had to really ignore that over all of these years of coaching, and kind of really, I guess, in a confident way, sit there knowing that the results I get you, or the results that you get yourself, are because we work together. So how do I work with you? I think a lot like most coaches will work. We're going to meet together. We're going to do your sessions. When I was training as a coach and taking my program, I did what's called coactive coaching, which means that the client and the coach work together. I'm not in charge of you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We work together. So first of all, okay, you're my client, and it's your first session with me. And we're going to do I'm going to probe, and I'm going to ask some questions, some background questions. I may have had you fill out a form prior to your first session, so I can kind of get a little bit of an overview of
Mm-hmm.
what are the circumstances or the issues that you feel are stopping you and standing in your way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that framework that we work off of, meaning before your next session, you're to send me 2 to 3 things that we're going to talk about, we're going to take care of in that session. Again, it's through the conversation. Again, it's through my asking you, because there's a way to listen. We know that there's questions that can irritate us. Like, like those questions when we were younger and our parents would ask us questions.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it was just like, why is my mom asking me again that? And then there's questions that are probing, that will help to remove the layers, to get to what the core, the root, and the truth is. So that takes place in every session. I've just actually created a new offer, because I was taking some time away, and I've created where the client can work with me now for 12 weeks. So I'm going to just give you my answer based on my
Okay.
new
Yeah.
program.
Perfect. Yeah. Tell us.
Okay, so over the 12 weeks, it really is about removing each layer and getting to that core, so
Mm-hmm.
you can see your truth. So what are we doing in the 12 weeks? Well, we're going to take a look at, what are your thoughts? Because your thoughts equal your thoughts plus emotions equal the results, action or inaction. And this world wants us to believe that we are our emotions and we are our thoughts. So it's really like, uh, when people have been brainwashed, and then you have to kind of unbrainwash them. That's what we do. So we take
Mm-hmm.
a look. What are your thoughts? What are the emotions that are running you? How do you make your decisions? Do you make your decisions based on your trauma, or do you make your decisions based from a space of healing? Each session, I'm going to give you something, some type of an assignment that's going to help further you in this process, because only so much will happen during our session together.
First.
Really, the powerful work for the client takes place, and that processing is after, in
Session.
between those sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I always allow for my clients to reach out to me. I mean, things are very different today. So they can DM me here, on Facebook. They can send me an email. I used to use things like Voxer. Yeah, I'm not so much into that stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the 12 weeks, you're going to see a change, and you're going to feel a change. And over the 12 weeks, some people might not like the process that you've been in, because the process of change doesn't just affect the person that's changing, but it
Mm-hmm.
starts to affect those around. And then they kind of have to get up to speed. So, you know, life is life, right? And life comes with a lot of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's going to bring those things. So you could come to me and say, oh my God, my husband is really not happy with things with me right now. Why? Because maybe now you've kind of are not people pleasing anymore, and you're not just doing things because you have this fear of abandonment. So really gonna start understanding, like how I understood that it was anger
Mm-hmm.
that was driving me,
Mm-hmm.
that it was guilt and shame. We're going to find out what's driving you, and we're going to see how you make your decisions. And have every decision you made been based on your trauma, as I said, or is you starting to make now decisions and choices because you're coming from that space of healing? Now, today I do things very differently than I would have done prior to 3 years ago. And that's only because I had a major transformation in myself. And that was God really got a hold of me. So I do things very, in a sense, and I don't want to say, I guess in a sense of really directing the client to the fact that when you allow the world to define who you are, that's not a good place to be. But
Mm-mm.
when you allow God to define who you are and you define yourself through God, you are empowered and you are a powerful being. So I do hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did well. You said more than that. And I love it. I love what you said. Like, I love so many things you said. You said you felt like you need to get in a box and that wasn't you. And the world is trying to put you in some kind of a frame. That's like all the things I always talk about with my clients, both like my entrepreneurs where I help them for their branding, also the individuals I work one-on-one through coaching. I use NLP techniques and how you can create your own authenticity. Like, you are unique, like you said. You don't have to fit in any box, and you don't have to do anything based on others' opinions and based on those people who are brainwashed. And I love what you're meant to do and how you're helping people. I already felt very calm during, talking to you. Your presence is amazing. And I told you before, your voice tonality is
Yes, you did.
very, how to say, it's very authentic, first of all, and it is very trustworthy tonality, which is amazing. I'm sure your clients
When
are
you
like,
when you left me that message, I was like, because listen, I can't stand my voice.
no, I love it.
When I listen to my, I'm like, wow, I am so grateful to you. You see how we were, I received that. At first, when you left me that message, the initial reaction that wanted to come up was to repel that. Oh, what is she doing? And then I had to take a look at my thoughts, and I had to shift that, and I had to be, no, no, this is such a gift. This is a gift, and you need to receive it. And so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I love it. You already mentioned how you work with your clients, and I want to ask you, like, lastly, what you want to leave our audience with, like one sentence or thought, and how they can
One
reach
sentence.
out to
One sentence. Okay, okay, thank you. Okay.
you.
Um, okay. So we wear a mask. I know I wore a mask for a long time. And after my husband died, I put that mask on really big. I put it on because I didn't want my kids to see how, I'm going to swear. I do my best to not drop some F bombs, that I was really fucked up. Really fucked up. My role as a wife was taken away. So it was like, I not like I defined myself as somebody's wife, but it was a very big role that I was felt honored to be a part of. And my role as a mother was very separate from my role as a wife, which was separate from who Andrea is as the person.
Mhm.
So I was left very, very, very messed up. So I put that mask on. And my mom had passed away 3 years after my husband. another mask probably went on top of that mask. And then a couple of years after that, my son started to go into a depression from the grief. It bit him in the ass. Well, now the mask of to hide the shame of a mother who took on all of this craziness. And then my daughter got hit by a car about a year after my son. And it was like, I'm telling you, life was kicking the crap out of me. I tightened the mask. I tightened the mask because people didn't see it. I was still able to coach successfully. I still was, being a successful coach. Why do I say I was a successful coach? Because my clients were receiving the results that they came to me, not because of Andrea. It was because the clients were receiving their results, the desired results that they wanted. But I was crumbling inside. I was fearful. I was fearing scarcity. I was fearing lack. I was carrying all of this burden on top of me. That mask was a dangerous, dangerous thing for me to wear. So I encourage your audience. I know you asked me for 1 or 2 sentences. I want everybody to know a couple of things that I think are important. And this is from Dr. Phil, who I absolutely adore. What you do not acknowledge, you cannot change. So if you do not acknowledge these things, I'm going to add to that. You need to acknowledge it, but you need to make some sense of peace with where you find yourself at. Because if you resist it, it's going to persist.
Yeah.
So make peace with where you're at. You don't have to stay there. You do not have to stay there. It's a process. I know trust is an issue for almost all of us, right? But it's because we don't trust ourselves. This world can't be trusted today. You're right. We can't trust the world. We can't trust politicians. We can't trust our healthcare. That's right. But we can trust God. So trust in the process that God is leading you through, because he really knows, and he's going to put you with the right person to help you through. As long as you say, I'm willing, get to the end of yourself and be willing and let your transformation and your change begin. Because it really is, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful process. It may not be comfortable. It's going to be freaking uncomfortable, man. And you're going to sometimes feel like you got thrown into the fire. But guess what? The fire is good. And the fire is good, right? Because it burns away all of the stuff that's not supposed to be there anymore.
You can turn it to a firework and celebrate after that.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. And what do you have for our audience? Do you have anything to offer?
Did I send you the links? So I have 2 free gifts for your audience.
Those links.
Okay, I'm going to send that to you. Should I want it in Messenger, or you want me to email it?
Oh, you can email, Messenger, both
Okay.
works. I will add
Okay.
it below the
Perfect.
show.
So one is a 30-minute complimentary breakthrough session. A lot can get done in 30 minutes. So they can book that with me. That is my gift to them, because I love to be of service. And the second one is something that God gave to me. I created, they call it a prayer journal, and it's called Stamp It on Your Heart. And it's a very fun and creative way it really brings a couple of things. So they say that the word of the Father is the seed. So you're going to see, I know, I wish I actually had a visual for you to see it. So it's really about being able to take scriptures, personal scriptures, which become your personal, as the world likes to call it, affirmations, right? But you do it on this paper, and you take, so for example, the first one that really spoke to me on my journey with God was Hosea 4:6. For my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Okay, so think about that. My people perish. I was perishing for a lack of knowledge. And then around the page in the thought bubbles, the more I learn, the stronger I become. Next thought bubble. I was perishing for a lack of knowledge, but now I'm empowered because I'm starting to understand. And you go around and you do all of these thought bubbles. So what does that do? It does a few things. A, it cracks the seed in your heart, which is the soil, which is going to allow the roots, right? The roots are going to come from there. And then it starts to shift your vibration, and you start to shift into a vibration of gratitude. Right? You're shifting at a much higher vibration, and it allows you to now have your thoughts be in alignment with the thoughts of God. So you really are allowing God to be first in your life. So it's an exercise that I suggest that for sure it's done in the morning. Take 3 to 5 minutes, no more than that. And I recommend doing it again at night. It's a PDF. You print it off, get out your colored markers, get out your colored pencils, be creative, and it's fun. And I'm going to send you both my links. I apologize. I thought I had sent them to you earlier, but no problem. I'm going to send them to you.
Thank you so much for these two valuable gifts, such a gift.
Thank
and
you.
will use my own gifts. I will take those gifts as well. Thank you so much, Andrea. It's been half an hour. I can't believe it's already half an hour. I just want to keep talking with you. I'm sure our audience also want to stay talking. But I want to have to let us go.
I know.
But thank you so much for being here. I enjoyed our call, our session, our interview, you know, whatever. This flow was just
This
amazing.
conversation. This
Yes, it was
conversation.
just amazing. I hope our audience take the most out of this and really apply it to their life so that they can have the life that they feel the fullest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
You too.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and now you can apply it to your life. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to the Coffee O'Clock podcast on Apple and leave us a review. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you feel like someone needs to listen to this episode, share it on your social media or text the link to that person to make an impact in their life. Be sure to tune in every Monday for new episodes. You can also watch the episodes and find more inspiration on my Instagram, which is at JOYYBURCU. Until next time, make sure to spend some time with you and stay with joy.